16th of November 2021 tarehe 16 mwezi ni wa 11 mwaka 2021. Natumai kwamba uko salama, umeamka vizuri na uko tayari kuweza kutaka siku yako leo. It's the state of the nation of the 16th of November 2021. Na kama jana vile tuliarifu jana na tayari wangona wameamka tayari mapema is the state of the nation edition of the 16th November 2021. I request that when you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and after please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is a tackle and it begins now. Dukona Governor, Excellency Anne Waiguru, Kirinyaga Governor, County Governor. Na jana liona kwamba tayari asubuhi pia mlikuwa mmeniamkia na maswali. Haya, taona leo nitauliza na zingine zitabaki ambazo pia sisi tulikuwa tumepangia, basi tutaweza kushika kutoka hapo. Yes, also we are a bit late, around 7 minutes late, but we're going to start off very quickly. Tutaingia kazi haraka upesi kama kawaida, lazima tuende tuombe. Alafu tukirudi basi na kuja kuona how many more shoutouts I can give. But meanwhile, please send in your location where you're watching us from, and if you have any question as well, you can send it to us. Before that, tuombe. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this program that we started off. As we have this conversation, may it edify the fabric of this country. For we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Haya, tuende tulipa madeni, haraka upesi mbio sana. Alafu tuanze mjadala. Tutaanza na Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari kwa bei nafuu zaidi. Maridadi Motors gives you an opportunity to import directly, and when you import with them, you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings. When you import directly with Maridadi Motors, you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings. As well, you're giving you an opportunity to invest your money. If you have money that's lying somewhere, you can invest at the import to sell model, and you get one up to 15% returns on your investment. But Maridadi Motors as well gives you an opportunity to save for two reasons. One, if you're saving for a unit, you save up to 50% total value of the car. Alafu basi hiyo nyingine unaanza kulipia polepole ukiendesha gari yako. Pia pale Maridadi Driving Academy na kupa nafasi ya kuweza kuwa driver maridadi zaidi. Na kama pia unajenga, Rexel Roofing got you covered. Quality roofing shingles from Rexel Roofing, quality roofing shingles from Rexel Roofing, stone coated tiles, na pia water harvesting gutters from Rexel Roofing. Visit www.rexelroofing.com ama upige simu kwa nambari ambayo iko pale kwenye screen, www.rexelroofing.com, and you get the best deals on your roofing materials. We're also giving you an opportunity to save slowly for your roof. If you're building in 6 months, you can start paying installments for your roof pole. Alafu basi ikifika wakati wake tayari roof yako iko tayari. Pia also we are giving you 10% discount on the 10th anniversary of Rexel Roofing. 10% discount on waterproofing materials, APP, waterproofing membranes and waterproofing liquids. 10% just deal for you as we cross in on the 10 years. This square way as well, make sure that you dress to be undressed. Alafu pia finally pia tuko na recharge by Pectam. Charge dawa by Peptang. Keep recharging. There's another way to chase through your day, that ensuring that you're recharging every single time. This is a tackle and it begins now. Acha nione wangona mamka wangapi haraka upesi hapa, mbio sitakaa sana. Musa Alfa na kuona Man Nathan na kuona Edward Kibena na kuona Justo. I can see you to way Michelle Micharian Mitch Ruta Amos Tele Musa Tufa. Haya Julius Sholim na kuona Lawrence Kigan, Karoki wa Masi, good to see you. Elvis W, Marshall Muzalendo, Stephen Kim, Governor Dick Cheruiyot from Ethiopia, Javed Kathika, Kipkorir Matthew, Kasera Owino, Washuka Kabue, Langa Joffrey, Marias, I can see MC Ken Moriango, Kenyanja Vincent from Kisii, Shilo Fred. Keep sending in your questions, I'll try. Lydia Matia, naona ameingia Lydia Matia, daughter of the mountain. I can see you watching this morning. Karibu sana Rinka Twiri from Dubai. It's a pleasure to have you this morning. Kama kuna swali yote tafadhali, you can send it to me on the comment section. And also kama kawaida at 9 sharp we love our bunge la mwenye nchi open, so you can call in at 7 and 9 sharp so that we can have this conversation together. Lakini nataka kukumbusha tena ya kwamba we are here with Anne Waiguru, Excellency Anne Waiguru, Governor Kirinyaga County. She recently made a switch to UDA and that's La Nation, and I can see even this morning she's in yellow. You get to know what made the switch. She's on a wheelbarrow. Good morning to you, Mheshimiwa.
Morning Bitoka.
Good to see you finally.
Yeah, asante sana.
I've been sending emissaries for 1 year now. It's a pleasure to see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're well?
I'm all right, thanks.
Habari ya Kirinyaga?
Kirinyaga tuko sawa. Sisi wote tuko katika form ya hustler. Kwa hivyo tunafurahi sana.
All right. So what's going on in Kirinyaga as we speak?
Well, we talk about politics ama
mambo yote.
Kirinyaga is going okay in terms of politics, as I have said. Uko form ni hustler na mpango wetu ni bottom up. Alafu ukienda upande wa economics, ukiangalia kazi ambayo tumefanya kazi kabisa. Na pia tunaamini ya kwamba kazi ni kazi, na sisi kutoka upande wetu wa kisiasa, if I say from our side, tunasema kazi iongee. Yani in Kikuyu tunasema wira warie. Kwa hivyo ukiona align hivi siasa zetu pia na chama cha UDA.
Okay. All right. I decided to start with Kirinyaga because that's your nation. We usually start with the state of the nation. But because Kirinyaga first is your nation before you come to the national platform, I also like to know or to get your view on what you think is the state of the nation at this point.
The state of the nation, I think from the political side, we are experiencing a very heightened moment of our democracy because we are heading to an election season. I think fairly doing okay, but we have had some unfortunate situations where our democracy has been a little threatened by intolerance, where we have had violence, like, for example, when His Excellency, the Deputy President, was in Kondele, and his vehicle was attacked. I think that was not a very good show in terms of democracy and being tolerant. But in the overall, I think politically we're doing well in terms of allowing space for political competition and also allowing the people to demonstrate their choice of leaders. On the economic front, we're not doing too well. I think, in my opinion, that we need to really seriously rethink our economic strategies and policies at this point in time. Our debt is pretty high and has been growing. I think that issue needs to be addressed. Coming to a state where we have over 7 trillion shillings in debt, and every Kenyan being born today having a debt of over 150 or about 150,000 Kenya shillings is not a good place to be. Over 70% of the GDP, it's not a good place. And I think that is one thing that we need to really, really look at in terms of the economy. Yes, we have built roads. Yes, we have infrastructural projects. We have ports. But the Kenyan, Mwananchi, because of even the situation that we are in, is not feeling that they have money in the pocket. And the reason why the Hustler Nation has become very popular is because that's what's giving them hope that maybe their situation will turn around. Majority of the Kenyans who are especially at the bottom hawana pesa. And that issue is the most important, especially when we're talking about economics and the state of our economy at the moment. So I would say that a lot needs to be done. We need to start listening and addressing the plight of the majority of Kenyans. Yeah.
Do you feel there's a turnaround in terms of the economy?
Do I feel that there's a turnaround right now? I think the turnaround will come with next government. Okay. Yeah, I think the turnaround will come with the next government. I think right now, if you look at what the focus of the current government is, it's a lot on infrastructural developments, huge projects, and that's usually in the traditional sense would have worked. A long time, they would say that if you want to grow your economy, invest in large infrastructural projects. But there are certain things, in economics you say holding all things constant. One of the things that I think they have not factored when they were investing too much on the infrastructural projects was where our economy was at and where majority of our people are. If you're in a middle-income country and you do large infrastructural projects, they would have a certain impact in terms of economic growth. And you would look at your numbers and see that your economic growth is going up. But if you have your economic numbers going up, but the majority of the people are not feeling like their lives have changed, there is something significantly wrong. So, and the impact that you would want from the infrastructural projects is actually not being felt. So, yes, we have built huge roads and put up the railway and revamped our ports, but majority of Kenyans are still not feeling like their lives have improved. And that is why I'm saying that there is hope. and the hope is the bottom-up approach. I should say this, Bitok. I'm an economist by background.
Yes.
And recently, there was the Nobel Prize for Economics. It was given to 3 gentlemen who had actually flipped traditional economic theories that we have always anchored our policies in these countries around. One was on wages, where the theory was that how wages affect the number of people who are employed, and that if a country or a state increases their basic wage, then the number of employed people would go down. The second theory that they debunked was on the effects of immigration, that if you have a country opening up its borders and a lot of immigrants come, that the level of incomes would go down. Now, why am I saying this? Every time we're writing our economic policies, and I'm sure this government did that,
yes,
they go to those economic theories and anchor their traditional, growth models on those theories. Now, they were researched and were found that actually not true. So meaning that whatever it is countries have been basing their policies on has actually been inaccurate. And so my view is that we are in a season of debunking traditional economic theories. And one of them was that countries will grow when you invest largely on huge projects, infrastructural projects. And then therefore a trickle-down model. I think the next major policy that will be debunked is actually that economic growth in countries require a bottom-up approach as opposed to a trickle-down approach. And we are looking to see how we will proceed in terms of implementation, but I am convinced as an economist that will be the game changer for this country, and especially pulling majority of Kenyans out of poverty. It will be the bottom-up approach.
All right. And I'd want to ask you a question. Since you have an economic background and understand that you've been with at World Bank, you've actually participated in the shaping of policies, economic policies. Every other time you see reports, they tell us the economy is growing. The GDP is growing by 7%, 8%, 10%. When you guys are coming up with these reports, who is the economy growing for? Because even now, as you talk about the economy having tanked at this point, we've seen several reports coming up that the economy is growing by a certain percentage. And the bigger question is, at the ground level, people don't feel these numbers. When we are being told about the GDP growing, who is it growing for?
Precisely. That's really what I'm saying. That if you look at the growth numbers, from a traditional point of view, you actually have the economy growing in terms of maybe the amount of resources that are actually generated or around from manufacturing, etc. And the question then, therefore, is if the majority of Kenyans are not feeling this growth, where is this money ending up? And that is why I'm saying that you can have huge infrastructural projects that show that the amount of money or gross domestic product in the country has gone up, but majority of the people don't get it because it actually doesn't trickle down to their level. And that's why I'm saying that changing our focus, our traditional focus, from trickle down to bottom up, where majority of Kenyans, 90% of Kenyans who live below the traditional poverty line or who earn less than 20,000, 15,000 feel that their lives have been improved, we would just be talking about numbers but not having any impact as such. Okay. Yeah. So I think the bottom, and that's why I'm saying, because we've tried it actually in Kirinyaga, the bottom-up approach. I'm not talking about just a theory. I'm saying something that we have sat there and come up with a program and a model that is working for the people that we have implemented the program, and I know it would have an impact nationally if it was rolled out across the country.
Okay. All right. Now, I would want to take you a bit to our neighboring country in Ethiopia. And not only Ethiopia as well, Sudan as well. We've been seeing things that are happening in Ethiopia. Sudan, we had a coup that was done by the military. In Ethiopia, we're seeing the Tigrayans moving towards the capital Addis, trying to kick out the government of IB. And these are things that are becoming almost common within our neighborhood. The President Uhuru Kenyatta was there yesterday. For the last 2 days, he's been there. I've tried to have a conversation with the government there. I don't know what you make of that as a leader.
I think as a leader, I think it's extremely unfortunate for a country to get to such a situation where you have takeovers and coups and where democracy is completely eroded. I think it's very unfortunate. And I hope that Kenya will be able to play its rightful role in stabilizing these two countries. You know that we have been the beacon of stability in the region. And that's why I started by even talking about, democratically speaking, that we need to be extremely careful not to start tolerating violence in our political rallies and campaigns and driving people towards intolerance, because it never ends well. And I hope that we are able to find a solution for those countries. It is extremely complex. I don't think that it's something that we can trivialize and say it's just because of A and B. I'm sure there are very serious historical issues, both especially for Ethiopia and Sudan as well. And their history determines exactly where we are, and what we could do as a country is learn from those lessons, and also continue to be the beacon of hope for the region, and to demonstrate that democracies do work, and that we can give people space to campaign, and we can give people the choice to choose who their leaders are, and when they do, that we actually allow those leaders to lead, and therefore we don't get into this situation. And the reason I say this is because we have had very sometimes shocking statements where people say that this time, because we have the system, we will win. That is a very shocking statement. I'll tell you another one. The one that shocked me is about the PS Kibicho, who comes from Kirinyaga, who said we should swallow razors if we have a problem.
You're saying he has ropes for you guys.
Yeah, or hang ourselves if we have a problem with them doing politics. It's not us who have a problem with them. It's the Constitution that said that if you're a civil servant, you should not participate in politics. And so if we are upholders of the rule of law, which is critical in a democratic country, the minute somebody says a statement like that, they should be required to get out of office, because you do not uphold the rule of law. And therefore, being a PS of Interior, we cannot trust you to uphold the rule of law, even in ensuring security. So I think we need to be very careful as this country, and I'm saying this without fear or favor. I think it was completely out of hand for a civil servant to tell us it doesn't matter. What the civil servant is saying is that he really doesn't care about the law. And the law means nothing to them. And therefore, whatever laws you pass, they can do away with them and do whatever it is that they want. And in an election period, that should concern us as Kenyans. And say, to what extent will you go to violate the law? So what are you saying? So if somebody wins and the law says that that person should be sworn in, are you saying that you will not? What are you saying? The fact that you're telling us we can swallow razor blade, what is your message to us as Kenyans? You know? And I think it's unfortunate. And he needs to retract it, apologize, or get out of office. Because we cannot have civil servants who do not uphold the rule of law. This is how countries end up in the situation that we're seeing in our neighboring countries. And that's why I've gone back to saying Kenyans need to learn about the importance of the rule of law in a democratic country, and how a democratic country needs to be governed.
Otherwise, that's where we end up. When you don't look, we are not very careful about how the country is run. Now, there's something you mentioned. I want to take you back to that, and because I want to take you back there, because you are a member of the Handshake movement that came in 2018 post 2017 elections, and you're talking about uniting the country and ensuring that every other person can go anywhere in this country to campaign. Now, there's an incident that happened last week in Kisumu, where DP's convoy was stoned. We saw some damages that happened there. The leaders have not really come out very strongly to condemn what was happening there. And as an ex-member of the Handshake, I would want to know, you had an intention of fixing the country to ensure that there's political tolerance. What do you feel now? What do you feel about all these things that happen? And what dangers does it portend as we are towards the elections?
I think this is a very dangerous trend, very dangerous, because when we start breeding intolerance, it can get out of hand, because every person who is running for office has supporters, so, and they have strongholds. So if you send a message on one side that you cannot come to my stronghold to campaign, and then their supporters on the other side said, Ata Sisi, you will not come to ours, what happens to this country? Everybody will have to stay in their homes, and that's the only place you can go campaign. And what do we say about democracy? What do we say about the rule of law? So I think it's a very dangerous trend, and I condemned it completely, and I would condemn it whether it was my opponent or even our side. And the same thing I expect is from the leaders on that side to also condemn it. This conversation about saying you can't go to somebody's bedroom, I think it is very risky, because then if every county or every region becomes somebody's bedroom, what will we be saying about this country of ours? There should be freedom. If you're popular in an area and somebody is not popular, and they come to campaign, why are you worried? You would still be popular, isn't it? And you'll still be elected. Give them the freedom. That is what we fought for when we fought for independence, and that is what we have been pushing for the last many years about democracy. We must be able to be tolerant, and tolerant in all ways. We must be tolerant to people's diverse views. We must be tolerant to people choosing different things from the things that we prefer or like. If, for example, you are in another political party, we should be tolerant of each other. We should let people have their freedom of choice to decide that this time round, I want to be with UDA. And there's nothing wrong with that, without fearing that night somebody will come and burn my house, or I can go to any other party and be okay, because these political parties are supposed to be vehicles for people to elect their leaders. And those parties are supposed to sell their policies and sell whatever it is that they are offering to the Kenyan people. And the Kenyan people then decide whether they want to follow them or not. But when we reach a point where we say you cannot come and sell your policies here, that here in this region, the only person who is allowed to sell their policies is so and so, it's a very dangerous trend, because then you will go to the other side and then you can trigger a spiral effect of violence. So we condemn it completely, and it's very, very unfortunate that in this day and age, we did not have a very strong condemnation. No one should justify it. And you should, as a leader, say, I expect all my supporters to be tolerant of everybody who is selling their ideas, whether you agree with them or not. And it's the same message, by the way, we should actually trickle down all the way to our children, in schools. Tolerance, being able to articulate and listen to diverse views without coming out in anger to stone or to ban or to hit back with violence. It's never that serious. And I think we should mature as a democracy, and the leaders that we choose in this country should be leaders who are tolerant and politically mature.
Okay. I would want to ask you, 4 years post-handshake, and the foundation of the handshake was you want to unite the country, you want to ensure that the country is safe for anybody to do their politics, whether we agree or we disagree. You were there, and you were part of the evangelists of uniting the country and ensuring political tolerance. Was that really the intention?
I believed it was.
What happened along the way? Because 4 years down the line, we can still not tolerate each other. What happened in between?
You see, this is what I'm saying. When we are on the side of the handshake, or you are on the side of handshake, and you are not able to condemn such acts strongly, without fear or favor, what message are you sending to the Kenyans? I have said very many times that Kenyans are not stupid. They listen, they watch, they observe, they make conclusions. Okay. They may not be at the same level of education like everybody else, but they are not, even if they haven't quite been educated at the same level, they can see. So we can say that we are pushing for handshake for peace, and then a situation like this happens, and people justify it or go silent completely, we hear you loud and clear. Your silence is very loud. Your silence is extremely loud. And Kenyans will ask, how come? Because when other situations have happened, there have been press conferences to condemn it. Yeah. We should have had press conferences on all sides. Okay. Anyone who is wanting to run for the presidency of this country should have condemned it. Okay. Because it is very important for us to know whether we are really safe in your hands.
Okay, and that takes us to another question. But before you go there, what did you tell Mwananchi? Because when you look at the political formations that are happening right now, in 2017, we were fighting because NASA were on this other side and they were saying, Serikali, it cannot work. Uhuru Kenyatta cannot work. We'll be on the streets forever. Now, things have changed. The opposition now is in government. And what message does it give to Mwananchi in terms of politics, of hatred and being mobilized? Because at that time we were being told maybe you need to fight these people. Now it's a different story. And the politics of the country keep changing. And the people who are thrown off balance and they're the ones who are bearing the burden of it are Kenyans, the normal citizens. What message do you have for them in terms of as we head towards the elections?
My message to the Kenyan people is very simple. Choose the message you follow from politicians. Do not follow politics of violence. Do not follow politics of intolerance. Follow the politics that are going to help you as a Kenyan improve your way of life. The politics that will add you money in your pockets. That is what you should follow. And that is why I'm going very much with the Hustler Nation and the bottom-up approach. Because that tells you that we have a solution for you. We can increase incomes in your pocket. We can give you a better life. We are giving you hope. As opposed to people who tell you, don't follow those ones just because they're from this tribe or that tribe. And therefore, we all galvanize and say we will not follow them because they are not of our tribe and they're not with us, without any tangible issue of how will you benefit as Mwananchi.
All right. Yeah. The biggest conversation in the country going on now is in whose hands are we safe? In whose hands are we safe? The person is asking that question. Every region, the country, every citizen wants to know. In whose hands are we safe? In whose hands do you think we are safe?
I think we are safe in William Ruto's hands as the president, the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya, come 2022. And the reason I say that is because he has articulated that he has an agenda for the majority of people in this country. Because if we do not resolve the issue of the majority people, 90%, and continue in the trajectory that we are in right now, where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, that is a time bomb. And so, in my view, the hands we are safe in is William Ruto's, because he has given us a bottom-up approach solution that will help the majority of Kenya, over 90% of Kenyans. And for once, let us focus on the 90% Kenyans, for once. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now let's talk about the move that you made. Very unexpected. We never saw it coming. We never saw you turning yellow from red. You made a move recently.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I would want to know, because people kept speculating for a very long time. Is she not? Is she not? Then overnight you made a move that threw every other person off balance. Whether from where you were coming from and where you were coming to. Everyone was like, okay. We didn't see this coming. What informed the move? And I also want to know, what is the motivation for the move? And I'd also want to know, how has it been like since that time? After you made the move, we saw things in the media that Governor Waiguru has been arrested. There's this interrogation, this and that, which we've not seen for the last 4 years, since 2018. First of all, let's start with the motivation. Why would you wake up one day and say you're going to join a camp that you've been a bit critical of?
I will say this. It wasn't sudden, because I had been talking about it for a long time. Anyone who had been listening to me would have known that I intend to move. And I'm an idealist. I believe in causes. Now, we have had a situation where we are heading to a political campaign season. And I was quite puzzled by the issue of the handshake and the BBI outcome. And I took time to think, reconsider. I said I'm introspecting. And I said I wanted to ask some critical questions. One of the questions is, especially for the Mount Kenya people, this BBI had very good things for Mount Kenya people. Why is it that they rejected it?
Okay.
You know,
Good question.
why was it that they rejected it? And it was very clear. I do my polls every 2 months, my personal polls, and I could see the effect of the BBI campaign on my own ratings. And it was a message that they were sending, that even if you are trying to give us very good things, we don't want them if this is the way you're going to package them. And the second thing we asked is why are Mount Kenya people saying that they are not on that side and they are on the Hustler Nation side? And it's because of their experience. Many of them have been complaining about their businesses, that their businesses have gone down. And they have really suffered in terms of contraction of the household incomes. Less savings, and if you ask them, if you listen to what it is they say that if you ask whether the economy is better off or worse off, even if you have your economic growth rates going up, their view is that it is actually going down because they can't feel it the way they should actually be feeling it. And the other thing is that is a very soft issue which you'll find quite unique. People said that we do not want to not be liked as Mount Kenya people. We don't want to be mistrusted. We gave our promise, and so we owe a debt. And if we don't keep this debt, the entire country will be saying, these people don't keep their debts. And you'll think that this is something very small, but it's very big to the Mwananchi. They said, we want to be free to go anywhere in this country. We want to be considered honorable people. That when we make a promise, we keep it because we're business people. And if we send the message that we can actually say, give a promise so that you can help me cross and then leave you, that injustice will rub on us. That is what they said. Okay. And if you listen to the people of Mount Kenya, and that's what I say, it's very important for leaders to listen. They may not say it as articulately.
To listen to the ground.
Yes, as articulately as I'm saying it maybe in English, but they will tell you in the way they understand that no. Please don't make us, our community, not be trusted anymore. We are business people. And I'm not talking about big business people. I'm talking about ordinary business people. People who are doing business in Mombasa, in Kajiado, in Kisumu, in Luhyaland, everywhere. You know, Kikuyus are everywhere. Yes. In Northeastern. We want people to know that we are men and women of honor. And so when we say that we intend to repay something, that we actually repay, because that in business, the first thing you sell is your credibility. And so that is something that is very, very seriously taken by the ordinary Mwananchi in Mount Kenya. And so when I was introspecting and listening to the Mwananchi, those are the things they told me. They said, no, mulisema kumi yako, kumi yake. Tulipe tafadhali. Yeah, that is where we are at. Tulipe kwa sababu sisi tunataka kukua free, kufanya biashara kila mahali, na kuendelea na maisha yetu. Na tutaki kuwa watu wadanganyifu. The second thing they said is that hii economy tumehangaika sana. Na sasa tunataka kuona mwelekeo. Na mwenye anatusaidia ni huyu ambaye amekuwa akitusikiza. He's been present. You know, there is one thing you cannot replace, and it's presence. In any relationship. And that is something very serious. When someone is present and somebody else is not present, you know that connection of the heart? You know that it comes because of being present. It's very difficult to undo it overnight. And unless the person now stops being present. There is something that happens in that relationship and the connection and the walking journey with you. So when people feel that they connect with somebody because they have walked with them, even if a few people think that they have some grievances with that individual, and therefore, because they're in certain positions, they can actually use them to influence. It's very difficult to go against the will of the people when they have seen you consistently. I will give you an example. The deputy president in 1 year would come to Kirinyaga about 10 to 15 times.
Hello?
10 to 15, and goes to all manner of churches. So people would even tell you, if you talk to the clergy, you know what they would tell me? They'll tell me, if I call him, he will pick my call. They'll tell you. So you tell him, really? He says, yeah. He talks to us. You know?
Yes.
Then he says, some of you are not even reachable when you're even more junior. You understand? So that connection and that accessibility and that feeling of being present makes a huge difference. And so when I listened to the people, you know, as a leader, it's good to learn. And I decided to learn very fast. The first thing I did is said, I will be listening. I will be present myself, constantly listening and present, and I will respond to the needs of first the Kirinyaga people, the Mount Kenya people, the people who we lead, because it is very important that we continue listening to what it is that they're saying. So that's really it. And therefore, when I asked them, so how do you think I have performed? They said, you've really worked. There's no doubt about it. Work you have done. Everyone can see.
Lakini iko shida.
You know, they said, but the vehicle that you're in, that vehicle, we are not sure we are interested in going in that vehicle. And I listened. And so I said, but we're changing. They said, no, we have already moved. So if you want our support, because we are the ones employing you, you know, they're the employers.
Yes.
They say, get into this other vehicle. And so I learned.
You didn't have an option.
I did some thinking. I continued consulting, and eventually I made my decision that I better listen to the voice of the people.
Any regrets so far?
No, none.
Regrets.
Actually, I have no regrets. And the reason I have no regrets is because I actually even believe in the bottom-up approach. For me, it's not even talking. I actually think that we need to flip our economic theory, where we have based our focus in the country from the trickle down to the bottom up. I believe it. Okay. I believe that we need to impact on the normal mwananchi. I believe that we need to make an effort to ensure that we're increasing the incomes of people at the lowest level. I believe that. Okay. And so it's not just that I am saying, it's not even just so much that it is William Ruto, but it is also because I believe that we need to change the lives of our people. And we have done it in Kirinyaga. Yeah.
I'd like to go to Kirinyaga. I want us to finish up the political side in a minute, in 3 minutes. Then we go now to Kirinyaga. We talk about the economic models in Kirinyaga. What have you been able to do? I've seen Wazesha as well. I would want to know as well, what roles the counties would play in terms of ensuring that the bottom-up economics works? Because if there's a disconnect between the national agenda and the county agenda, then we have a problem. But before we go to that, what have been the consequences of you making a switch? How has it been like for you? Do you sleep well at night?
Not all the time. Not all the time. And it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because I could see some people trying to use my switch or my thinking to switch for their own other reasons, using investigative agencies to like threaten me and going to write funny things in the newspapers, you know, so that not only me, but anyone who is considering a shift could be scared so that they don't move. It's really unfortunate. And I tell you, Bitok, that's another thing that needs to change in this country. This country, there are some things that we seriously need to change. While we are focusing on changing the economy, we need to really change even the perception of using our investigative agencies for political ends. I think that needs to change. I think we seriously need to find a solution to it. But we've made our decision nonetheless, because I'm not the first and I won't be the last. And I believe that every day people are seeing the import of the hustler nation and the bottom-up approach. And many people, not just me, many people are on their way.
Many people on their way?
Many people are on their way, yeah.
Many people on their way.
Many people are on their
Can
way.
you say that confident that many people on their way?
Many people are on their way.
Okay. Why are they not here yet?
For various reasons. Everyone
They're
is
fearing the
different.
consequences that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
there's some who fear the consequences. There are some who are looking at their timing.
Okay.
There are some who are still consulting. People are different and they make decisions differently. But by the time we're getting to the deadline, you will see. In fact, if you look at the UDA, the crisis in UDA is actually too much interest, even from political aspirants. I think they are heading towards over 6,000 aspirants wanting to run with the UDA party. That's a huge number. That's a huge number. And that tells you where that party is at and what people are thinking about the Hustler Nation. And you can write off Hustler and give definitions that you may want to give. But I believe that by the time UDA is done, there will be another definition of a hustler. Yeah. There will be another, and it will be in Wikipedia, and it will be in the dictionary.
The narrative would have changed.
The narrative will have changed completely.
So if you the thing that you're going through right now, and you're speaking for many people that you are saying are on their way,
Yes.
but they are not here yet because they fear being victimized. If you are the president, how differently would you handle the political environment as it is now? If you're running this country today?
If I was the president, the first thing is I would make it very clear to those institutions not to try and be used for political reasons. That's the first thing. And I'd make it very clear to those in my office, like those ones who are telling us not to go and swallow razors. First of all, I would not tolerate such kind of talk from a civil servant. You know, civil servants, I was a civil servant. We were not like that. Civil servants are not like that. It is not a good portrayal of what a civil servant should be. And I'm sure very many civil servants are disappointed because civil servants are neutral. They serve the government that is in power. They do not take sides because that is the role of the civil service. It is what stabilizes a country. So, and considering that these investigative agencies are supposed to be helping the country, right, put the country in the right track, the minute they allow themselves to be used by civil servants who are in power, to push certain political agendas, they lose the trust of the Mwananchi. And therefore, as if I was the president, I would make sure that I safeguard that because it's a critical pillar in our democratic process and the rule of law. And for as long as that is eroded, then people will not have faith in anything that you do. And therefore, even when you want to correct a situation in a country, it becomes impossible because nobody will believe you. They know that you used, and that is what they do. And the other thing that if you're talking about, if I was the president, if let's say I was given a small window to be the president just for a while. Kidogo tu. The first thing I would do is deal with the issue of debt. Okay. I would just immediately just stop borrowing. Stop it right there. You know how you just say, just stop first. And then I would come up with a solution for that debt, either restructure it so that it's affordable and therefore it is not impacting on the Mwananchi at the bottom. I would ensure that I would remove our young people from this spiral cycle of debt, the Fuliza situation, you know, the CRB. Many of them are now listed in the CRB for defaulting on their loans. They're living from one debt to another. And I would definitely work on this bottom-up approach to ensure that we have put money in people's pocket. We've increased the amount of money in people's pockets. That's what I would focus on. Because right now, and I would be listening. Let me tell you, Bitok, I would listen. Because the Kenyans are speaking loud and clear. And I would listen and respond to them and let them know that I've actually heard you. I'm listening to you and I have heard you. I have heard about the issue of debt. I've heard about the problems you're having in terms with the rule of law. I have heard about the issues of CRB. I've had that your businesses are struggling, and I am working on a solution. I am listening to you. I would actually have not things that are actually arranged in terms of going to meet people. I would meet the people. I would listen to them. And then I will get wise counsel around me, you know, because there's no one person who
knows everything.
It knows everything. Yeah, I would have voice council, and one of the things I would return is the National and Economic and Social Council. That helped former President Kibaki, and that is why he did very well in terms of economics, because he had a group of people who would tell him, by the way, this is not working, and you need to do it this way. We haven't had an ESC for a couple of years. I would have that, and I'd have that as with good people from diverse backgrounds, and I would be tolerant to even those who tell me, by the way, I don't think your theory works. I think you could have done it better this way. Because that is how people who have run countries successfully and have left a major legacy have done it. It doesn't matter which country. They always have that council. And then I would work very hard to standardize our way of life. You know, standardize in the sense that, for example, in health, I'd make sure that whether you're rich or poor, that you can get the same level of healthcare. We're doing it in Kirinyaga. I would ensure that in every ward, there would be a health center. And in a cluster of wards, you would have a level 3 hospital. In every sub-county, we would have a level 4 hospital. Right now in Kirinyaga, we have Baricho as level 4. And we are upgrading Kirinyaga and Kimbimbi, which are in the other 2 sub-counties, to level 4. And we have Kiruwe as level 4. And then we would have in every county a level 5 hospital with a HDU, ICU, special oncology center, etc. To ensure that every person, whether you are well off or whether you are poor, that you get the same standards of medical health care, for example. There is a basic minimum that every person in Kenya should have. The level of housing, for example, the basic amenities that they have, toilets, you know, that you have water, clean water. Those basics, it's not very difficult to do. And the question you had asked earlier about having a bottom-up approach that is linked with the county.
Yes.
You cannot implement the bottom-up approach only at the national level. It has to be done where the people are, and that's at the county level and sub-county level. And that's why I like that there will be an allocation per constituency, but would also give resources to county conditional grants to ensure that they are also implementing programs that tackle on bottom-up approach. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So you think there's a possibility that we can use the counties as a driving force for the bottom-up economic model?
Yes.
Would you demonstrate that with some of the projects, some of the highlights of the projects that you've been able to do in Kirinyaga in terms of maybe agriculture, trade, you know, around the economies of Kirinyagans?
We talked when I went to Kirinyaga, other than having a huge challenge because of resources, we are, I think, the 6th from the bottom in terms of the money that we get from the national government.
6th from the bottom?
6th from the bottom.
Okay.
We get a total of, we're getting about 4.2, now it has gone up to about 5.2. And a lot of that goes to recurrent expenditure, which is mostly salaries. We have over 2,500 staff. We have bills, we have water, electricity, medicine, and running the hospital. So we are left with about a billion for development. Now, this year, maybe about 1.5, 1.6. But let me talk about 1 billion, because that's what we've been working on until now. And we had very many young people who were idle. And they were waiting on the roadsides for handouts. And many who had left the rural areas because they said that farming was no longer lucrative. And coffee wasn't paying as much as it was supposed to be paying, and rice as well. And therefore, they are looking for employment in the peri-urban areas, in the towns. And I thought, because we are a rural county, what is it that we can do to encourage young people to take up farming? And what is it that we can do to increase the amount of money in their pockets? Because the reason they have actually come out is because they are looking for money. And what can we do also to cushion our farmers and our young people and our women from the effects of fluctuating prices, for example? Like coffee prices have really gone down internationally. And telling them that doesn't help, because whether you tell them that internationally the prices are down, they still don't have money in their pocket.
Yes. Though
now it has started going up. And we came up with our Wezesha Kirinyaga program. And that is why I'm a believer in the bottom up. And in the Wezesha Kirinyaga program, we started with 4 value chains: avocado, tomato, dairy, and poultry. And in those value chains, let me give you an example of a very simple poultry project. And I will just use bulk numbers just so that you see. We had read that we're importing eggs from Uganda, about 10 million eggs a month. And I said, Kirinyaga...
10 million eggs?
10 million eggs a month. And we said, that means there is a market in Kenya.
Yeah.
And so if we got our young people to do poultry, to come up with a poultry project, they would be able to make money and get a market for them. So we did a value chain where we started off the young people by helping them build their houses. We got them chicks, and then we give them feeds for 6 months until the chick starts laying eggs. And we started a 1 million egg project. And if you count, like for example, every egg roughly is 10 shillings. And in a group of about 10 young people, you have 1,000 chicken. That's roughly for every person about 100 chicks or chickens, right? And assuming that each chicken lays 1 egg a day, that is 10 shillings per egg, which is times 100, 1,000 shillings per person per day. We collect the eggs and find for them markets through what we call the Kirinyaga Investment Development Authority. So a complete value chain. And then after that, now they start doing their own, what is it called? Feeding and financing, and we move to another group. So that's an example of an agricultural, rural community, bottom-up approach. I'll give you one final one on seedlings. Seedlings for avocados. We are starting to distribute. We've been distributing seedlings, and we started to set up a group that distributes seedlings. So we start them off with 500,000 shillings, and they were trained on how to do the grafting for Hass avocado. And in 6 months, they were able to sell their seedlings for 2.5 million shillings.
Wow.
If you calculate it, it comes to about 30,000 per youth member per month for those 6 months.
Person.
Yeah, per person. That, if you ask me, is much better than the offers we have had so far of 6,000. And for work, they're not just sitting idle. This is something that gives them...
They're physically engaged.
Yes, physically engaged, mentally engaged. And those are 2. We have dairy, we have tomato, and now we have gone to bees, we have pigs, and we have fish. So that's for the rural community, right? You don't require much land because they're not land intensive. They're not extremely capital intensive, but our government can be able to assist. And so if you aggregate, for example, those avocados once the farmers grow them and sell them, and we have now built aggregation centers and working through KIDA to make sure that they get external market. You will see that even the farmer that grows the Hass avocado will also increase their income by between 30 and an average of 30 to 50,000 shillings a month. So I believe in the bottom approach for that. Now, when you come to the urban areas, then you look at it differently, because then here you would probably be talking about completing the value chain, cottage industries for young people who can actually run small factories, and linked with whatever it is the production is. So in the towns, in the urban areas, in the counties, you can have small cottage industries that maybe do processing of tomatoes, and then sell that to the market. So you complete the value chain. It could be processing slaughterhouses, processing of meat for the chicken and also for the pigs. So you think like that. You think from end to end, and work with people at the bottom to ensure that you are increasing the money in the pockets. And let me say something else that you may not realize, is that when you do that, actually, you spur the economy, and it grows. It's actually an economic stimulus program, in the sense that if everybody has increased amount of money in their pockets, they will spend more at the bottom, and it will actually end up spurring the economy, and it's more sustainable, and actually spurs the economy to much higher numbers, as opposed to what we have right now at about 5%. There's a limit to what infrastructural
investments can achieve.
Can achieve, yeah.
Okay. I would like to hear something about dairy.
Dairy. Now, let me tell you what we did. We have AI services. We got AI services from Ahitindomba, and we are providing for every household in Kirinyaga with AI services, free AI services, where we are improving the breed of the cows. So right now, our average production per cow is about 5 liters per day. We want it to go up to about 15. Now, we just don't go and say, let's increase milk production, and then leave our farmers there wondering where to take their milk when their production increases. We've also worked with our cooperatives to build up their capacity. So we've picked 3 cooperatives, and in those cooperatives, which also are owned by the farmers, we have provided them with milk coolers, milk processors, generators, so that they do not have problems with power fluctuations. And recently, we are giving them yogurt making machines for value addition, and milk howlers, so that we are able to collect milk from every household. So let me take an example of an average 30 shillings a liter of milk. And if a farmer was producing only 5 liters, that is about 150, right? But now, if they were producing 15 liters times 30, that is 450. You see, if you calculate 450, well, roughly, if you say, even for ease of calculation, 500 shillings per day, you have added that farmer with 1 cow 15,000 shillings a month. If the breed goes to 20 liters, the money increases by the same amount. If they have 2 cows, it moves from 15 to 30 to 45, depending on the number of cows. And right now, this cycle that we have done, we have provided AI services to about 50,000 households. We're doing the second round to go to another 50,000, and then come back again and repeat until we have every house at least twice. Meaning, we should be able, with another year or so, have doubled the milk production in Kirinyaga and change lives. And so if that farmer has milk production being increased, and also has avocado, or maybe one of their family members is in a chicken group, they have increased their income by 70,000 to 80,000 a month, and that is significant. I think if we did that across the country, we would comfortably say that Kenya has moved from a low income to a middle income country. Because for you to move a country from low income to middle income, it's actually on average per capita earnings. So roughly between ensuring that every single person earns a minimum of 11,000 shillings, 11 to, let's say, 120,000 to 40,000. And imagine if we had that impact across, not just in Kirinyaga, if I was able to do that for everybody in Kirinyaga, and then Murang'a did the same, Uasin Gishu, Kisumu, everywhere, whichever value chains that you're in, managing that, you can imagine the impact that would have in the country. And so that's why I said from the beginning that I actually do believe in the bottoms-up approach.
All right. Talking about cottage industries, then we go to bottom up. I would want you to try something here. This is a product of Kenya, a product of the cottage industry. It's dried fruit, mango. I want you to try it. You tell me what you think about it.
This is very good.
What do you think? What do you think?
This is very good. First of all, you see it's Kenyan.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about. We're talking about adding value, completing a value chain, and finding increasing income in young people's pockets. Think about the one who packaged these mangoes, for example. I'm sure it's probably from a young person who came up with this idea. When we were growing up, I don't think we had dried mangoes in packets. We only waited for mango seasons, isn't it? And so this is what we're talking about. This can make a huge difference. In fact, this even moves to the next level.
Yeah.
Because the person who now starts producing at this level and selling and maybe even exporting.
It's actually being a surprise. It's actually being exported from the country.
They move from the level of being completely at the bottom to the next level. And that is what we're saying with the bottom up. We're not saying that we empower you to stay there. It's you start at the very bottom and grow and realize your dreams to be whatever it is that you want. So with cottage industries like this, we can transform lives. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's it for cottage. It's just a challenge for you. If there's any fruit that's in Kirinyaga, we can actually try it and have it for export. You're talking about tomatoes as well. I actually realized they are actually dried tomatoes.
Yes, you can actually dry tomatoes. You can process them into paste, which is very common. And I don't know whether you know that Kirinyaga is the #1 producer of tomatoes in the country.
I didn't know.
Over 60,000 tons. 60,000 tons a year. A lot of which goes to waste. And that's why, even for us as a Kirinyaga County, the end of our value chain is actually we're doing a tomato factory in Mwea to ensure that we harvest and harness that potential.
Yeah. All right, so we have a factory coming up in Muranga. No, Kirinyaga.
Kirinyaga.
Bottom-up approach, bottom-up economic model, BUE, has been largely bashed as a sloganeering for politics. I don't know how much you've internalized it. Maybe can you help us break it down? Yeah. And is it actually viable? Because we've had a lot of political promises coming up.
Let me even start by saying this. I don't know why anybody would bash the bottom-up approach unless they have a problem with empowering majority of Kenyans. You know, as an economist, let me say this. When you want to stimulate an economy, there is 2 ways that you could do it. One is you can do it from the monetary side, and the other you can do it from the fiscal side, right? On the monetary side, it's usually through issues of money supply. And this is now a lot of economic jargon, but playing around with the money supply in the economy and the dollar exchange rate, etc., to grow the economy. Now, if you did that, you can have an impact, but it will be limited, and you would hardly have people feeling that the economy, like we're saying right now, has affected their pockets. The other thing that you could do is you could deal with the fiscal side. And on the fiscal side, there's 2 things. You can deal with the tax side, and also you can deal with the expenditure side. I mean, the revenue and the expenditure. Now, in the revenue is the tax side. So you play around with the tax, maybe lower taxes, and then expand the base, and then see if you can get the economy moving up. But if you look at where we are at in terms of our revenue collections, our debt levels, it would be very difficult to affect the economy in that way. So what you would be left with is the expenditure side. And on the expenditure side, it means that you put money in projects, right? And then the economy would grow. And traditionally, people would say, put money in huge projects. And I think that's what the current government is doing. And they assumed that if we put money in roads, and we put money in ports, right, money would circulate, and therefore the economy would be spurred. But this money went to fewer people because it was huge projects. And the huge projects go to big companies, a lot of which are not even local, you know? So meaning a lot of the money is actually going out. When you pay, it gets out. And so people don't feel the money. So when now the option that you have on the expenditure side is to put money out there, but make sure it reaches the bottom and spurs the economy from the bottom. That is what actually we're talking about. So it is not something that hasn't been tried. As I have told you, we're doing it in Kirinyaga. If you do it en masse, it will affect the economy. People will have money to spend. They will have be able to save, and therefore the economy will grow. And with the economy growing, you'll be able to generate more revenue. You'll be able to collect more taxes. And I think anyone who bashes it is because either you don't understand economics or you have a problem. If you understand economics, you have a problem with empowering people at the bottom. These people, of course, when they get empowered, they will be more liberal. I mean, and more able to make their own decisions. And any person who is confident in themselves as a leader should be able to be comfortable with an empowered young people. And I think that it will be a game changer in this country when it's implemented. And Bitok, I don't know whether you know that even the other day, the American government announced that they will be now reconstructing their post-COVID economy from a bottom-up approach. That's the American government. So it's not just us.
It's not a slogan.
It is not a slogan. It is actually practical. It can be done. And as I have explained, even from an economic point of view, it actually works. I was the head of the economic stimulus program when President Kibaki was in power in the Ministry of Finance. And the current president was the Minister of Finance and Deputy Prime Minister. And if you remember, we actually managed to turn around the economy of this country from a -2 growth to about 8%. The model that we used was actually a bottom-up approach.
Was it?
Yeah. What we did is that we sent money down to the constituencies. We did projects at the constituency level across the country at the same time. 22 billion shillings. Everywhere health centers were being built. Those health centers were employing local people at the same time. And that is how he managed to turn around the economy within 2 years. So when you send money at the bottom and ensure that people are empowered and therefore they start spending, that is what is going to transform this country. So the bottom-up approach is the way to go.
So it's not even new. It has been used by Kibaki, like you're saying.
This is a different model in the sense that Kibaki used infrastructural projects at the bottom, small health centers, small markets, and that kind of thing. We are now talking about the softer side, agriculture, or looking at the agricultural sector, from even lower, where we are starting with, like now the proposal that I am saying about what we're doing with our poultry in the rural areas. I don't know exactly what they will come up with to do at the urban and peri-urban areas, but what I'm saying is that a bottom-up approach has been tried and tested. This is not the first time. It's just going to be en masse, and for sure it will be a game changer.
To be government policy.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I'm now going to open Bunge. Bunge la Munyenchi is a forum for the Kenyans to speak to you. And this is a tackle. Let me just make it very clear for you. Feedback comes real time. You could be tackled. You could tackle them. It happens either way. So they come in. I hope you're prepared for the questions that come in. You're prepared for the calls. Right. So you might be tackled. So I hope you're ready for that. Now, I want to start first of all with a question here about the medical sector in Kirinyaga.
Okay.
What happened? 300 medical or health services providers. I don't know, suspended or fired?
Fired.
Fired.
Let me explain.
300.
Over 300, actually.
Okay.
Let me explain. So, if you all remember, there was a time that our medics went on strike. And when they went on strike, we went to court because the procedure in which they used was not legal.
Okay.
And it was politically motivated. And the court ruled, and as you know, this country is run by the rule of law. The court ruled that they should return to work.
Okay.
They did not return to work. They were given 2 warnings about returning to work with 2 weeks and another 2 weeks and over a month. And they did not return to work. They actually defied court orders. And they went to court and were told, you return to work and then have a conversation with the governor on whatever your grievances were. Okay. But because they were politically instigated, they thought that there's nothing that can happen to them. So while that process was going on, and when we saw their defiance, we started a process of advertising for these jobs. We got Kirinyaga people applying. And we interviewed and we shortlisted because there are very many people qualified to be nurses, healthcare workers from our counties who are jobless. And as the strike was continuing, people were suffering. Kirinyaga people were really suffering. In fact, there was an actual situation where we lost life, and it was not very interesting for me as a governor. While at the same time, some medics were adamant that they're not going back to work for no good reason. And so finally, the courts gave us the authority to terminate those who do not return to work. Okay. And when the ruling was done, it was done on a Thursday, I announced in Kirinyaga that I have given an olive branch to all those who are striking to return to work by Monday, close of business. Anyone who returns to work will not be punished at all. It will be like you never went on strike. And out of about 700 of them, over 450 returned. Okay. But there's a defiant about 350 or so, I don't have the exact numbers, who did not come back. And so we struck them off the payroll and employed the new people we had interviewed, equal number, because Kirinyaga people were suffering and they needed to be given services. You know, health is very critical. Yes. It's actually a matter of life and death. And so that is really what happened with the 354. So there are those now, after they'd been replaced, started saying, no, we never went on strike, etc. And tried to get back to work through certain routes which were not legal. But unfortunately, their positions had been taken by residents of the county. Kirinyaga. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we got into that situation. And it's really unfortunate that they keep bringing this issue up, because if they know better, they would know that there is one thing called sanctity of life. And I believe that if they are honest with themselves, they will know that they were not at work. Because how come they are the ones who were let out and others were not let out? Secondly, it was in the public domain. And thirdly, it's not people I know personally. So you can't even say that it is anything to do with victimization. It's not possible for me to know 350 people by face. You only know them by the register that is provided by their supervisors. So it's unfortunate. And I hope that we never get ourselves into a situation like that where people strike indiscriminately without considering life and also considering the reasons why. And also, especially when you're used by politicians or for political ends. And they know that they were being used for political ends, because it's very similar to the allegations that they brought during my impeachment. You know, you look at somebody sitting there trying to give evidence of some very bizarre things that even them, they know they're just lying, you know? And eventually, even the unions took action against even that person who was a union member. And the medic said that you did not represent us well, because eventually it comes back to haunt you. So that's the story of the Kirinyaga doctors. And you know, budgets are allocated. You cannot now overhire, now that you have come back after luxuriously being out of work and on strike without caring about the health of Kirinyaga people.
Okay.
So that's what happened.
All right. So it was in the interest of Kirinyagans who are waiting for El service. Bunga la mwenye nchi iko wazi. Meanwhile, sweet tunda. These are dried mango fruits from sweet tunda, locally made, 100% Kenyan, also very it's being exported. So why don't you consume it? Just consume it. Healthy indulgence. Wacha kukula maswiti na vitu ya majabu. You're also having the granola. You can see it on the screen. You have granola on the screen as well. I can just want it. The sweet tunda, everything ends with natural goodness. Very natural, 100%. We work with small-scale local farmers. That is now bottom-up. Governor alikuwa anasema to pick the fruit and ensure that they are processed within Kenya and consumed within Kenya and as well exported. This is the healthiest indulgence that you can get into, guilt-free indulgence that you can get involved in. Sweet tunda, you can get it at any leading supermarkets. Pale Carrefour, kwetu wanasema Carrefour. Okay, Carrefour and also just forget Carrefour and also Food Plus out chains. Haya, bunga la mwenyeji kwa governor. So tunachukua headphones. Kazi inaanza. I would want also just remind you, please, let's keep the questions and engagement very respectful. If it gets disrespectful, you'll be disconnected. So ukipiga simu, go straight to your point. If you are disrespectful, you'll be off. Bunga la mwenyeji kwa nambari ni 779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Be reminded again, this is a tackle, but yes, we respect and ensure that every other person is treated with respect. So if we feel that you're going to be on the borderline of disrespect, we could have a problem there. Or 779-800-010. Bunga la mwenyeji liko wazi or 779-800-010. Kamgele 779-800-010. Ukipiga simu, ingia upesi wa swali yako ama comment yako, alafu basi tunaweza kuwa na mazungumzo ambayo inatosha. Mbona hapa Governor wa Mwea anasema wanaanza sofutwa kazi kabisa. Wale walioandikwa wafanye kazi. Sawa, bunga la mwenyeji jambo. Jambo, habari asubuhi.
Salama sana. Kwanza salimia mheshimiwa. Umwambie nimepita hapo Kirinyaga kutu wapi nimeona amefanya kazi nzuri.
Okay.
Sasa swali yangu ni moja tu.
Uliza.
Alikuwa anamaanisha nini akisema you can rent a Kikuyu but you can never buy one?
Haya, you can rent a Kikuyu but you can never buy one. Kuna swali lingine?
Yes. Ni hiyo tu peke yake.
Asante. Haya, bunga la mwenyeji.
Good morning, Honorable Bitok.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fine.
Haya, sema swali.
Ni Governor Nick.
Yes, Governor Nick, mambo.
Poa sana. Ningependa kuuliza mheshimiwa maswali matatu tu. Moja ni kama akipewa nafasi katika chama cha UDA akuwe naibu wa rais atakubali?
Akipewa nafasi kwa chama UDA kuwa naibu wa rais kama atakubali. Haya, swali nyingine.
2022 akuwe naibu wa rais atakubali? Swali la pili ni hii. Akishindwa katika nomination ya ukavana atakubali kumwachia mwenye amemshinda ama ataanza kusema ameibiwa?
Haya, atasema afungue safa. Haya, tatu.
Ya tatu ni ile akona yani anaweza kuwa na chambo lolote kuhusiana na Miguna nani ako behind intimidation ya Miguna.
Asante, mambo ya Miguna.
Otherwise have a great day.
Thank you. Haya, bunga la mwenyeji jambo.
Bunga la mwenyeji jambo.
Mambo.
Poa sana, salamia mheshimiwa hapo.
Haya, amesalimika.
Ni Farid Faraja hapa
Haya, Farid, twende kazi.
Mheshimiwa. I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Number one is pertaining the way you fire the county health workers, of which they were also reinstated some other time by the PSC.
Okay.
When I followed their grievances, they were a bit genuine. And when you fire somebody, have you answered the question, why did they go to strike? If those questions are not answered, whoever might you hire, they will go back to strike again, because if you don't have those facilities or equipment to help you treat your patients, I'll work for the first 2-3 months, I'll fill it for the patients and go away.
Haya, swali nyingine Farid.
The nature of human beings, if it is a problem that has been created, let it be solved. If there are things that are not supplied, let them be supplied in time. Like, for example, there was a day I was in your county referral hospital, and there is no contract for the patient.
Okay, sawa, tumesikia mambo yako hospitali ya nurses. Haya, laini ni mrefu. Farid.
Number 2.
Yes, very quickly.
What happened from a catwalking girl to now number 2 supporter of William Ruto and Kirinyaga in a few periods?
Okay.
You just say that.
Haya, jambo bunga la mwenyeji. Bunga la mwenyeji jambo. Bungala Mwanyichi, tafadhali ukipiga simu zima sauti nyuma yako kwa sababu you'll disrupt our conversation here. Please. Bungala Mwanyichi, jambo. Haya. Huyo tafadhali, when you call in, please first of all be very brief with your questions, and secondly don't want to listen to yourself. When you call in, piga simu uzime pale nyuma alafu tuweze kusikizana. 0779801010 Bungala Mwanyichi, nambari ni 0779801010. Ukiingia pale kwenye laini haraka upesi uliza swali zako, alafu ya pili please switch off the voice or the broadcast on your background so that we're able to communicate clearly. Haya. Bungala Mwanyichi, jambo. Bungala Mwanyichi, jambo.
Hello?
Hey, mambo.
Hello.
Yes.
Poa sana, Honorable Bitok.
Yeah.
I have a question for the governor.
Haraka upesi.
Na umsalimie sana. Now,
Yeah.
we all know that she inherited a very huge recurrent budget from the previous governor, especially on salary. And we know that she's one of the governors who received the least budget from the National Treasury. How does she operate this Kirinyaga? We can see that there is so much work done. We can see that she's servicing, she's actually able to pay the salaries at the same time. And how is the government intending to help these counties that inherited very huge recurrent budget, yet people expect development? It's good that Governor Waiguru is managing somehow.
Okay.
So she has to tell us the model that she's applying, even for other counties to copy.
Okay.
Because could you ask her the recurrent budget that she inherited from Governor Ndasi, and ask her her annual development budget as compared to her recurrent budget, so that people don't expect too much from a governor who has a very small budget and is actually a miracle performer. Yep. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Anasema budget, sijui ulipata recurrent budget ya pesa ngapi? Unajua wanasemanga if you want to die, the easiest way to die is to do business with counties when they are overlapping. Haya, Bungala Mwanyichi. Bungala Mwanyichi, jambo. Good morning to you. Who am I speaking to?
This is Susan Mugwe.
Oh, okay. Haya, swali yako Susan.
Yeah, I want to say hi to the governor. And I'm glad that she talked about her priority and her recognition of having wise counsel, because obviously leaders do not have the monopoly of knowledge.
Okay.
But one time she rejected my wise counsel when she was cabinet secretary, but that's okay.
Okay.
You can't have everybody's counsel. Now, I've listened to her, particularly on the economy side of things, and your conversation around the GDP. You know, when we talk about the GDP growing, if you understand what GDP is the consumption and production of final goods.
Okay.
And actually the conversation around GDP in the world is changing, because anybody that consumes anything that is a final good contributes to the growth of GDP.
Okay.
And this could also be negative. For example, you have so many border accidents. When those guys go to hospital and they consume medicine or they consume new spare parts because of the damaged motorcycles, they are contributing to the growth of GDP. But the reason why then we cannot feel it, it's because it is going towards repair and not growth, but it's still contributing towards GDP. And that is why today we talk about genuine progress indicators that look at the value added to the human being as a result of growth of GDP. So, but I was also quite keen to listen to her when she was talking about if she were president. And one of the things she said, if she would cancel debt. If she was to seek my advice, I would say
borrowing,
no.
Not debt. Borrowing.
Cancel borrowing, which leads to debt.
Okay.
If she was to seek my advice, I would tell her not to.
Okay.
Because economically, you should always work with other people's money.
Right.
Even when you're in business, always try and work with other people's money, but only if you have the ability to repay.
Okay.
So rather than stop borrowing, I would have given the council to find means and ways of ensuring that you're paying back. You have the ability to repay the debt.
Okay.
And how do you do that? You do that by, one, making sure that you expand your your tax base
Susan,
by not
laini
being
mrefu.
punitive to
Laini
tax.
mrefu. I'd appreciate questions,
Kidogo
direct
tu,
questions. Yeah.
kidogo tu. You reduce your size of government. Right now, government has overcrowded and outcrowded even the private sector. So, and also, she needs, even with her bottom-up model in Kirinyaga, you need to lower the cost of production.
Okay.
If you do not do that, then the businesses cannot thrive. It will take 1 year, 2 years, and then they will all die off. So those are things that perhaps she needs to take into consideration.
Okay. Thank you so much, Susan. Asante sana. Thank you so much for calling in and for your contribution as well. I can say she has answered a lot of questions for you. Good morning to you. Bunga la Mwananchi. Bunga la Mwananchi, jambo.
Jambo, huyu ni gavana wa Mwea.
Gavana wa Kirinyaga.
Gavana wa Mwea.
Wewe ni gavana wa Mwea? Haya, sawa. Ongea na gavana wa Kirinyaga.
Gavana, ujambo?
Si jambo.
Mimi sina mengi ya kusema, lakini nataka kusema kwamba mimi ni mmoja wa wale watu ambao wamefaidika na miradi ya wezesha ya gavana Waiguru.
Thank you.
Na kwetu ni river pale kunaitwa Jericho. Sisi ametuanzishia mradi wa tomato greenhouse. Na tumefaidika na tumeona maendeleo yale amefanya Kirinyaga. Wale ambao wanaosema maneno mingi ni watu ambao si watu wanaishi Kirinyaga. Mtu wa Kirinyaga anajua yale gavana wetu ametufanyia.
Okay, you are the governor wa Mwea.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunamshukuru. Kwa mambo mengi aliyotufanyia, hospitali zile alizojenga. Hata atakapoondoka watu wa Kirinyaga watamkumbuka kwa hospitali, barabara na mambo mengi aliyotufanyia. Asante.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Governor wa Mwea. Amesema yeye amefaidika na mambo ya nyanya. Kidogo tuchukue tu labda only 2 ama 3 simu tatu. Sababu naona tayari it's 9:12. Ndio hizo dakika zingine 15 tuweze kuzitumia kuweza kujibu swali. Haya, bwana kama mwenye nchi 07798010. Mbona mwenye nchi, jambo?
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Jambo Bitoka, salamia gavana Waiguru.
Amesalimika?
Nimesalimika kabisa.
Karibisha Waiguru kwa Akla Nation. Tunaambia turudi pale ametoka. Akuome na sisi sasa. Naona anaweza kuwa, mimi naona hata hii governorship acha kwa deputy sasa. Kwa sababu anaweza.
Okay.
Na nimesikia anaelewa maana photo map. Shinda hata wale walikuwa ndani.
Okay.
So tunakaribisha Waiguru sasa atake lead ya hii campaign ya Akla Nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asante sana, thank you so much. Kwa siku njema. Haya, sasa mambo, unajua safari ya mbinguni pia walisema ati wale wa kwanza watakuwa wa mwisho na wa mwisho watakuwa wa kwanza. Nimeona safari ya bottom up pia ni kama inageuka kidogo. The pyramid is facing upwards. Now, kuna swali nyingine watu wameuliza. You've not been part of the deepest tours in Mount Kenya. Last one. Just last one. Ya mwisho. Jambo. Haraka upesi. Ndio nifunga. Kuna dakika moja tu. Haya, na ameenda. Haya, sawa. Tumefunga, nifungie simu hapo. Tuingie kwa maswali. Asante. Thank you so much for the guys who have been on Bunga la Mwananchi. I'm sorry but I have to close it for now. Mpaka tuonane tena siku ya kesho. Acha mheshimiwa ajibu maswali alafu tuingie kazi. Haya, niko na swali zimeanza hapa. You've not been part of the tours in Mount Kenya.
Yes, the talk, I've just come in.
Okay.
And a governor's role is very different. It's very difficult for a governor to be available almost every day. You have a county that you're running. And I plan to be part, but it would not be possible at this point in time to be part in all of them.
Okay.
So first, getting, finding my way around within UDA, very many meetings that I'm attending, not necessarily in the rallies, but with colleagues discussing various things and contributing. And there's different ways of contribution. There are those who can be able to go for almost every rally because of where they are at. But for a governor, it's not
difficult.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. And if you notice, even when we're on the other side, or even the ones on the other side, you actually mostly show up when it is in your area. Once in a while, you will join the team wherever it is, you know, but it has to be really planned because a governor's calendar is a bit tight. But I intend to actually join a few, not just in Mount Kenya, but as we go forward. When we reach February and we all start campaigning, you'll see me almost every day in one rally or other, either at home or outside the region, and definitely supporting the deputy president. So even what I am doing now is contributing, doing my own contribution to the overall journey and agenda. So very quickly, to explain what I meant by you can rent but not buy. Just that. We are not bought. We make our decisions. And that is why even now, when I tell you they have made their decision to be in the Hustler Nation, nobody can come and offer them anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Nobody. And when I say that you can rent, is, for example, there's a side that will come and pay people to come out in the streets and cheer them so that they have a crowd. But on the day of voting, they will go where their hearts are. And right now their hearts are with the Hustler Nation. And that's exactly just what I meant. So some people will come and rent them for their own use uko kwa barabara.
For the time being.
Then they will say because they have had a group or a crowd that therefore the mountain has shifted. But the fact of the matter is that these people will go where their hearts are. So
let me throw in a twist. Since when you were saying that at that time you're on the other side, were you then intending to say that those guys were in that camp? Were you being a prophet of the days to come?
Let me just say, leave it there. In Kikuyu, we say, a wise person is not told everything in black and white. You understand what it is I have said. So the second thing is, would I accept the DP position if I was given? It would be a great honor. You know, it would be a great honor to serve as the deputy president. I think when you're considered, it shows that even the fact that someone can think about it, it shows that people think of you in a certain way, and I think it would be a great honor on my side. The problem of the hospital, I think I've explained it. I said it was political. It had absolutely nothing to do with all those things and the allegations that were made. And the people who were there are working. In fact, Bitok, when the entire country went on strike about a year ago, Kirinyaga was the only county that was not on strike. And it's because of the changes that we've done. Because everybody knows that we've done serious reforms in healthcare. So aside from allegations, that gentleman was saying he went to the hospital and didn't find something. I don't know whether he's aware that, for example, KEMSA is having a challenge with supplying us with commodities, even as we speak. And it's been in the national domain. So sometimes you will go to a hospital and not find something. Not because that hospital all the time doesn't have. It's because of a unique situation. Maybe KEMSA doesn't have it and hasn't given us, or maybe there is a delay in budgets, and therefore our procurement process and our payment process has delayed. But not to say that it's a perennial problem. The other question was on, someone tried to say catwalking and all. I would just say this. I think in politics haitakangi makasiriko. Hapana. Politics, it's about interests. It's about whether you are going in the same direction. And as we all say, there are no permanent enemies in politics. And by the way, on that statement, it's such a long time ago.
Yeah.
We patched up with the Deputy President a long time ago when he was coming. In fact, he was in my inauguration after that. I think by then, this question shouldn't come. So some people live in history. I think my advice to them is tokeni historia jamani, tu angalie mbele, tuko katika form ya hustler na mpango wa bottom up. Tuone vile tutasaidiana kule mbele. Halafu, on recurrent, yes, as I said, we have a huge recurrent expenditure, and we have really struggled to do the development we have done. And just to mention that with the little development budget we have, I have built 15 markets now, 15. My predecessor built one in the 5 years that they were there. I have done 19 health centers. I am upgrading 2 level 3 hospitals to level 4. I have built an ultra-modern level 5 hospital. That looks like Nairobi Hospital. 350 bed capacity. And I have done the Wezesha programs that you have had, impacting over 70,000 households. And I am still continuing with implementation of urbanization of our small towns. We walked into muddy towns, and now you can come and see they have pavements, they have cabro, they are clean. People are happy to do business there. And it has actually really raised even the value of our land around the town. Kirinyaga looks much more modern. We are in the process of building a fire station that will look just like a London fire station. And yeah, like London. You know how it is. In fact, we even have people who have said they will come and help us train our fire engine, firefighters from there. So I can say that in another couple of years, God willing, we should be very fast, Kirinyaga County. Probably the model of showing not just how a county can transform lives, but probably the model even for the bottom-up approach. Susan Mugwe, thank you for your advice, and it's sorry that you said you wanted to advise, but I was talking about the structure of advice to be around NESC structure. It's usually better that way, but thank you anyway for your advice. And I have heard about the issue, but to clarify on the borrowing, I did not say stop borrowing forever. It's stop borrowing right now, because there's something called sustainable debt. And once you pass the 60% mark, you're heading towards unsustainability. And right now, I think we are at about 70% of GDP.
Yes.
So, which is not a good place to be for a low-income country. So that's what I meant. So right now, I think we need to, and what I said, Susan, was restructure our debt so that we are able to pay it without the normal Mwananchi feeling the pinch of it. And yes, you should always do business with people's money as much as possible, but even as you borrow, it should be sustainable. Then, thank you to Governor of Mwea, who said that we have done well. I'm happy to hear I have a co-governor in Kirinyaga.
Yeah, I was wondering.
But it's a great supporter, so I'm happy also. And I think I mentioned on the issue of the DP tours. So you will be seeing me in my yellow and green.
You'll be seeing more of it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, two questions as we are towards the tail, and we'll finish, I think, in the next 7 minutes. There have been a story of climbing the mountain. Everyone is trying to climb the mountain. What is in the mountain that everyone is trying to climb the mountain?
What's in the mountain is numbers. Numbers. The numbers is what is making everybody want to climb the mountain. Not to mention that we are also very good people. And so the association is also, I think, I guess, very attractive. But the numbers, if you look at central side of Kenya, We have roughly 4.7 million votes.
Okay.
On the Mount Kenya East, about 1.3, 1.4 million votes. That comes to about 6.2-ish, about 6.1, 6.2. I'm just doing it from on top of my head. And then we generally, whether we are living there or not, vote in the same direction.
Okay.
That's our history. Now, if you look at diaspora, those of us who are in Nairobi, those of us from the mountain who are in Kajiado, who are in Northeastern, who are in the Maa community, basically Samburu, Narok, who are in Lamu, good portion in Coast and the rest of the country, you had another about 2 million or so votes. So if you put it together, it's about 8 million votes. There's nobody who's going to be president without a good support of the Mount Kenya people. And that is why everybody is looking to climb the mountain. I will tell you, I told you I do polls. I do polls because not for public. I do them to inform internally our decisions. And right now, if I look at the polls that we have in terms of the presidential candidates, the deputy president, William Samoei Ruto, is way ahead in Mount Kenya. He's way past these average 75%. In some counties like mine, he's over 80%. In other counties, he's 65 to 70 and climbing. And so by the time the campaigns are, like now he has done this round, probably by the time he's finished with this Mount Kenya round that he's doing, you will find maybe on average he will be way above 80 and hopefully way even above that. I'm sure he's targeting to reach 90. 90 or so percent. So if you calculate that and then look at the number of votes and then factor in the issue of voter turnout, hopefully we'll be able to get the people out as should be. So it's a huge determinant of who's going to be the president in 2022. Yeah.
So your friend Raila Odinga has also been hiking. He's been keeping healthy. He's been hiking on the mountain. And well. There's been a story, a narrative that is now doing 50-50. As is Right Honorable Raila Odinga scaled the mountain?
I think, to be very honest, you cannot say 50-50. We have the numbers. And even if you did a poll yourself, or even if they did the poll, they know very well it's not at 50-50. Okay. I've just given you the numbers as they are, and the rest of the numbers are distributed amongst the other three candidates. So that tells you where everybody is. Yeah.
So bad.
And it is very unlikely to change.
Okay. Nothing's going to change as it is now.
I don't expect that anything will change.
Okay. So Raila Odinga can keep the hikes, but you don't think there's anything that's going to change on the ground?
No, not significantly.
Okay. All right. Another thing, we've been seeing luncheons and lunches being had in Nairobi, being led by MKF, and there has been a conversation that President Uhuru Kenyatta is part of his succession. What are the chances that this could change? And what is the role of MKF in Mount Kenya politics?
I think, let me say that, first of all, I respect MKF very much because we have a history. Okay. I think they mean well. However, I think there is a very huge disconnect right now where they are and where the people are. Okay. And I say that respectfully. And that's why I started by saying the issue of listening. If you listen to the ground, if you do your polls, if you listen to the people, they will tell you that this time round, they are the ones making the decision.
Okay.
They are deciding who is their governor.
On their own.
Who is their president. Who is their MP. And they have said they will not be told. So we either comply or they send us home. That is what they are saying. The reason they are saying that...
Can you do that again? You're saying either what happens?
Either that or they send us home.
Okay.
We either comply or they send us home. And the people have understood that they have the power to decide. And they're speaking loud and clear. And that's why I said it's important to listen. This is a new generation. There was a time where you could come and direct. I think that time is gone.
Okay.
You can influence, but you have to be very careful how you play the influence. So when you're trying to influence from a boardroom, but there is another conversation happening outside, they're speaking very loudly. Okay? There are some people who will be swayed, but by and large, the majority of the people have already decided. And I've told you what it is they've said. They've said two things in Mount Kenya. One, we promised we'll deliver because we don't want to have a bad name.
Okay.
Right? We will not be known that we were just using people. That people become bad after they have helped us.
Okay.
We will be people who are just. We will be fair. That is what Mount Kenya people are saying.
Okay.
Tureadwega, you know, in Kikuyu, we are good people. We are honorable people.
Okay.
So that when we go out to do business, people trust us. If I say I'm going to deliver water, you know that I will deliver water. If you deliver something to me, and I tell you that when I sell it, I will pay, that you will believe that I will do that.
Okay.
And the only way to do that is to ensure that the debts we have, and which we have been public about, we will pay them. And that debt, significantly, is to one Samoei Ruto, because he helped us cross 3 times.
Okay.
3 times. Twice, and a repeat election. Went around this country campaigning for us. And we said, Kumi, yangu kumia, yake. So that is one thing. The second thing they have said is that, other than that, we have listened to him, and he seems to have a solution to our problems. And therefore, that solution, which is the bottom-up approach, getting us from the bottom, increasing our money in our pockets, and using models that have been tried and tested, is what now they want to try. They said, we have given opportunity to other governments who have invested heavily in infrastructure, but now we want the bottom-up approach.
Okay.
And therefore, they have said, therefore, we are aligning to this side. And thirdly, they've said he has been with us. He has been present all through this time. And you know that even the Bible says that there are friends who stick closer than a brother. And that is where Mount Kenya people are at.
All right. So he's been that friend. Let's talk closer than a brother. All right. It's been a pleasure having you. Weshimiwa Excellency Head Waiguru. Thank you so much for gracing the tackle. I want to give you an opportunity to give your tackle of the day. Your tackle of the day could be anything. If there's something you want to speak strongly to, if there are people you want to speak strongly to, I would decide. I would want to line up for you, but I don't know how comfortable that will be. Let me try and line it up for you on people you want to speak to. And it has to be around the major people that are running the political scene at the moment. You'll also have an opportunity to speak to any other person that you want to see. If it's your constituency, it's the country, whatever it is. But I want you to speak to the major people, your friends. And I want to start with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Is there any message you have for him?
To His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, I would ask very respectfully, listen to the people. Listen to the ground.
Okay. Listen to the ground. All right. Deputy President, you have any message for him?
To His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, keep at it. Keep winning. You have what it takes to be the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, and we are rooting for you. We are behind you.
Okay. And finally, is Honorable... All right, Onasama is always a prime minister. You never stop being a prime minister. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, you have any message for him?
I would say you've always been a reformer to the right, Honorable Prime Minister. And I think your voice needs to be heard very loudly in the protection of democracy in this country, and especially in denouncing the violence that we have seen recently, and especially in Kondele. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other person you want to speak to?
I think I would want to say to the civil servants who are doing politics, I would say stop politicking. We will not swallow razor blades, and we will not hang ourselves.
Okay.
We are Kenyans. We abide by the rule of law. If you respect the law of this country, the constitution and the law, you will stay out of politics, because that's what our law says.
Okay, thank you. Those are tackles of the day from Governor Excellency and Waiguru. Very straight to the point. I hope you'll get the messages. We'll have the cuts done very shortly, and then we'll have those messages packaged for the people who want them, and they'll get to them very shortly. And that is it. And as always, I always say this, and the tackle is a platform for every other person to speak their mind on the issues that affect this country. So when they speak their mind, we better listen. That's what we do here. We give you a platform to speak. So we welcome any other person as well who has been tackled with Governor CS Kibicho. Tafadhali karibu pia. The platform is open for you to defend yourself, to call yourself back. Raila Odinga, I think we have an appointment with the DP. Probably he could be coming in before the year ends, so he'll also have an opportunity to speak for himself. President Uhuru Kenyatta as well. When we started off, you used to receive calls from your side or end of the government and to have a talk with us. You're still welcome. The platform is still open. Please karibu. Tuweza kuzungumza pamoja, zungumzia wa Kenya. This is a tackle. It's been a pleasure having you on the 16th of November 2021, the State of the Nation edition. I believe that you've been able to get value from this. Watu wanasema bado tusimalize, bado ni mapema, lakini ni 9:36. So we'll see you again tomorrow on CS Wednesday. This is a tackle and it ends now. Bye-bye.